Your Airbnb can be booked solid and still lose you money every single month. And the part that keeps me up at night for these owners, the exact numbers that make it look healthy are the same numbers hiding the actual problem. Here's what usually happens. You check your calendar and it's filling up. You scroll through reviews and they're good. So you close the app and you tell yourself, you're fine. And honestly, I get it. A full calendar and happy guests is exactly what a healthy business is supposed to look like from the outside. That's the trap, because it looks like the finish line when it's really just the starting line. And I'll be honest about something else. A lot of owners don't look closer because on some level, they're a little afraid of what they'll find. It feels better to glance at a full calendar and assume that money's following along than to actually sit down and add it all up. I understand that completely, but the properties that quietly lose money for years lose it precisely because nobody wanted to look. So let's look together right now, and I'll make it painless. The first thing you have to get straight is this: occupancy isn't profit. Bookings aren't profit. Reviews aren't profit. A completely full calendar can be sitting right on top of a property that's barely breaking even or bleeding a little bit every single month, and the owner never sees it because they're staring at the one number that feels good instead of the one that tells the actual truth. So let me walk you through the leaks I see over and over again, because if even one of these is happening to you, it is costing you real money this month, not someday, now. And I'll give you a quick way to check yourself on each one as we go. So this isn't just theory. The first leak is that you're measuring the wrong thing entirely. You're watching occupancy, and occupancy only tells you how often you're booked. It tells you nothing about what you actually keep, because between the guests paying and the money landing in your account, there is a whole line of things quietly taking their cut. There's the cleaning, there's the supplies and the restocking, there's the linens, there's the software you pay for every month, there's the channel fees that come off the top before you ever see a dollar. There's utilities and the little maintenance stuff and the odd refund you gave to keep a review from going sideways. Add every one of those up and subtract it from your gross, and that leftover number, that's your business. That's the only number that's real. And here's your check. Can you tell me right now, off the top of your head, what your property actually netted last month after all of that? Not what it earned, what you kept. If you had to pause even a second on that, that's leak number one, and it is the single most common one that there is. The second leak is pricing. You set one time and never touched it again. And this one is so understandable because setting it once feels like being done. But the market you priced for last season is not the market you're sitting in today. Your rate should be moving with the seasons, with the day of the week, with what's happening in town that specific weekend, with how much competition just came online 3 blocks from you. Here's your check on this one, and you can do it in about 30 seconds. Go look at what your nightly rate was 6 months ago and what it is right now. If it's basically the same number, I can almost promise you 2 things are happening at the same time. You're leaving money on the table on your high demand nights, the ones where people would have gladly paid more, and you just handed them a discount they never asked for. And you're sitting empty on the soft nights where a smarter, lower price would have actually filled the gap. Static pricing in a moving market is a slow leak you agree to without realizing you agreed to anything. The third leak is quieter, and it's the one owners really don't like to hear. Your listing has stopped converting. It used to book itself, and somewhere along the way, it started needing help. And so without ever really sitting down and deciding to, you started nudging the price down to keep the calendar full. And it worked, so you didn't question it. So you did it again and again. But a price cut to make up for a tired listing is a leak with a bow on it. The problem was never that you were priced too high. The problem was the photos that stopping the scroll, the title that blends in with everyone else's now, and the first 3 lines of your description that don't make anyone feel anything. Here's your check. Pull up your own listing right now to the top 3 competitors in your area, side by side on your phone, exactly the way a guest scrolling at midnight would see them. Be honest. Does yours win in the first 2 seconds? If it doesn't, you've been quietly paying for that gap in lower nightly rates, month after month after month, and calling it the market. And the 4th leak is the biggest one, and this one truly is not your fault. The market shifted underneath you while you were busy actually running the place. Maybe your area got saturated and now there are 2 or 3 times the listings, all fighting over the same guests. Maybe the kind of traveler who used to reliably fill your calendar just slowed down for reasons that have nothing to do with you or your property. Here's your check on this one. Think back to this same month last year. Is it harder to fill the calendar now than it was then? At the same price? If the honest answer is yes, the ground moved. And here's the part almost nobody tells short-term rental owners. So listen to this one carefully. When that happens, the answer is not always to grind harder as a short-term rental. Sometimes the smarter, calmer, more profitable move is to take that exact same property and shift it to a midterm rental, 30 days and up, traveling professionals, healthcare workers on contract, people between homes, folks relocating who need a soft landing for a few months, or run it as a hybrid, short-term through your strong month seasons, midterm through the slow stretch. I've watched this one decision turn an exhausting break-even Airbnb into something steady and boring and genuinely profitable that the owner barely has to think about anymore. Same house, completely different life. And here's why this matters more than it might sound like in the moment. These leaks compound. A little bit lost every month isn't a little bit. It's that same little bit 12 times a year, every year, quietly, while you assumed everything was fine because the calendar looked full. That's the real cost. Not one bad month, a slow, invisible drain you never chose. Now, here's the good news, because I don't want you sitting there feeling defeated. Every single one of these leaks is fixable. Every one. This is not a you bought the wrong property, sorry video. Most of the time, the property is genuinely fine. It's the strategy around it that drifted, and strategy is something you can change starting this week. And because I know there's a big difference between hearing these leaks and actually checking your own property against them, I made you something to make that part easy. It's a free guide. It's literally called, Is Your Airbnb Quietly Losing Money? Same as this video. And it walks you through these exact leaks one at a time so you can run your own place through them at your own kitchen table on your own time with nobody looking over your shoulder. The link is right down in this description. Go grab it. It's yours. No strings attached. And here's where I'm a little different, and it's the whole reason I can usually spot this stuff fast. I'm not a random person who happens to run a few Airbnbs and figured it out as I went. I am a licensed realtor, 20 years of pulling comps and underwriting deals, and I pair that analytical side with the hospitality side. I call it hospitality management, not property management, on purpose, because the numbers are only half the job. The other half is the communication, the hand-holding, the managing conversations, and time and space that actually keeps a rental running and keeps guests coming back. Real numbers and real care, living in the same person. That combination is exactly what catches the quiet leaks before they turn into a whole year of lost income. So if any of this hits a nerve, if your gut went, wait, is this me? Somewhere in the last few minutes, that's the entire point of this video. That feeling is worth listening to. In my experience, it's usually right. So here's exactly what I want you to do. First, go grab that free guide in the description and actually run your property through it. That alone will tell you more than you think, and it costs you nothing but a few minutes. And then if you go through it and something in your gut says, yeah, I need real eyes on this one, that's exactly when you reach out. Send me your listing or pull your last few months of numbers and send me those and let me actually look. It's not a sales pitch, and I won't turn it into one. I'll just tell you straight, whether you've got a leak, whether it's a quick fix or a bigger strategy shift, and whether short-term, midterm, or hybrid is the right call for your specific property in your specific market. The first conversation costs you nothing either, but start with the guide. Let's find out what your Airbnb is really doing when you're not looking.